Questioning Everything with Garrett and Adam.
And here's another thing, she was a hero for that little bit of time. And let me tell you something, that certainly changed pretty quick. Once, don't be nicer to your freaking grocery store clerks, like, holy people. Because first she's a hero, frontline worker, and then as soon as the data started coming in, now it's going back to just treating her like a piece of shit and everything else like that. Not only that, but they got a $2 raise. All those, and then once it all died down, the raise was taken away.
Well, of course.
And that dude, whoever owns Loblaws and frickin' the Superstore, that dude, I Googled him, he's worth $6 billion.
It doesn't matter. It has no impact on how much the wage is worth.
What?
It has no impact on how much the wage is worth.
In what way?
Why would his wealth have any reflection of the wage of somebody who happens to work in one of the franchises?
Because they can afford to pay them $2 an hour more?
That's not true at all.
What?
No, that's you misunderstanding how business works.
Probably,
yeah.
But
it's much like people saying that McDonald's franchise made $481 billion last year, so why can't they pay $15 an hour? And the actual answer is that's the profit of the head office. The actual restaurants...
Where does that profit go then, dude?
That's the profit of the head office.
Okay, but where does the profit of
their pockets, the shareholders'
Okay, so
pockets.
then they're greedy, then you're...
No. The shareholders themselves, or the franchises themselves, are owned by somebody else, right? So it's just the fact that McDonald's has been so successful. That sounds like some sort of
loop. That sounds like a bunch of fucking creepy...
Profit from success.
Well, yeah, but but people...
The franchises themselves are owned by somebody else.
From success. I think minimum wage needs to go up a little bit. I think my mom deserves $2 an hour more when she gets... Well, somehow they were able to afford that. So why did they take it away?
They probably couldn't afford it. Same as we can't afford to give everybody $2,000 a month for 5 months.
You don't think that Superstore could afford to give their employees...
All of their employees a $2 raise?
Maybe even just 50% of them. 50% of them.
That's a steep thing.
Like, okay, my mom's been there for 25 years. Why she can get her $2 raise from COVID fucking canaries and keep it. She's the
I don't see any reason why they'd keep it. I think it's really good that they actually gave it to them because people's health were impacted from stress.
Fuck, man. But I think they should have kept it. Let me ask you, you don't think that 50% of the employees could have... So 50% of those employees...
Who chooses which of one of the employees?
Well, say you've been there 15 years, you get the $2. You've been there, you just hired a month ago, sorry.
Okay, so it's based on seniority. The top 50% would then get...
I'm just throwing numbers out.
Okay, but people get raises anyway.
Not a lot.
So with that mentality, the business world would be cautious to give people bonus raises or temporary raises for things like COVID if they knew that every single time that happened that they had to hold to that raise now for the rest of it,
I just think it's a moral obligation.
They would be hesitant to do it. So I think
Loblaws I disagree with you.
Stepped up to the plate to give everybody the $2 an hour.
No.
And if everybody was expecting that they should keep it, then that will actually prevent that from happening again in the future.
Well,
or at least it'll give them reason
to. It should have set a bar. Like, I mean, it's just like it's
it doesn't mean they
pandemic.
It doesn't mean that they can afford it, though.
I think that's fucking cold, man. I think you should. I think that there's some way that we could, like, the seniority based.
It was good because there was a perception, which ended up leading to stress. But the actual reality is that it shouldn't have been considered a pandemic for as long as it was, or it should have been rebranded because it was branded under this like Spanish flu thing where
for
literally
like a minute.
Well, not even, because people were like afraid to go to work, right? And there's still
there's so much fear
this like
still.
mind worm of there's something to be afraid of. We see the data that there's nothing to be afraid of,
afraid when I go
and there's still people saying that there's something to be afraid of. So.
You're changing the subject here, though. I'm still very curious as to like you're like why we couldn't keep that. Like, where's that money? So if my mom gets a $2 raise, why can't you're saying that in the business world it doesn't work that way? And there's not enough money to keep.
Let's go back to then. Why haven't they always been making $2 more?
Because of greed, sir.
Do you think so?
I think so.
Or do you think just because of like balancing the books?
I don't know.
They need to be able to
think of it as a pyramid. Like I'm worth billions of dollars.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, running a grocery store chain of superstore. My net worth or just I just feel like
there's probably not that case.
There's probably some room there to toss down. There must be some room there to toss down to the franchises to freaking give back to the employees. Like, why
would you toss money down to the franchises?
Well, you're saying that the glass ceiling is the franchise owners. You're saying, okay, well, you're saying all the McDonald's chains is owned by a dude that has nothing to do with the actual owner of McDonald's.
The franchisees own each restaurant.
That's right.
So it'd be like if you franchised out your brand, right?
Okay.
Say you got a brand and you want to franchise it out to Sport Check and to Costco. You want them to have a couple things in there, and you want to, but you want to almost sell the licensing so that you want to allow them to make it with your logo or something like that, right?
Okay.
Now, let's just say it gets really, really big. And you get to do that, and you've done this now all over the world.
Yeah.
Now, the store itself is selling something. Let's just say Winners has it. And Winners is actually making it themselves, or they've got some other company that makes Winners clothes, and like a Joe brand or
You're
whatever.
Losing me here, but okay. I'm okay.
Like Joe brand?
Yeah.
So they've licensed your thing. And they're selling a sweater, and the sweater's $28, and it costs them $2 to make. And this is happening all over the world, right?
I know.
So you're just getting you're getting loaded, right? You've now got like $800 million a year. You're just getting crazy amounts of money from all this sorts of shit because of the licensing. And somebody's like, why is this shirt why is this sweater so goddamn expensive? I know it only costs $2 to make. And you're like, what are you talking about? And they're like, well, I live in North Carolina and there's a Winners there. And you're like, oh no, that Winners actually gets it made in Mexico. That's their own company that they do that thing. I just license it to them. And they're like, yeah, but you're worth $1 billion now a year. So why isn't your brand being sold for cheaper? And you're like, no. I just sell the license for them to use my brand. They make the sweater, they distribute it. That's actually their product. Basically, it's just my licensed. Now we're talking about the same thing. Now we're talking about the McDonald's franchise.
It's not my problem anymore. Because
it's not about that's not. It's not about it's not your problem. It's that you don't even have any connection to it. You don't even have any say.
Okay, there's still levels of disconnected. There's still margins.
You are a person who has a design that people happen to want, and so you've licensed it out.
I understand.
And you happen to be making a lot of money because of mass distribution of it, because it's all over the world. So now you're making this huge cash. You're really only making like pennies per item. Whereas the people who are distributing are making the vast money, and they're having to pay the vast overhead. They have to pay the retailers or the employees, plus they have to pay the brick and mortar stuff to sell your brand.
It's too expensive, man. I'm just saying, like, you're going on about all this
and
stuff.
Now
and I understand what you're saying, but
you're completely detached from it, though.
I'm not that detached. I'm saying that
if you were the brand owner.
Oh,
and somebody who's bought it, and you're like, dude.
Okay, so exactly, they are detached. But
you're like, I feel for you, bro, but I have like, I can't. What am I going to do? License it to them for cheaper?
Yes, or something.
But you only make 2-3 cents per hat. It's just the fact that they sell 1 million hats all over the world.
We're talking about Superstore, and
same as McDonald's, bro.
But the massive company, it's just ridiculous.
They make a trickle. The fact is that they make a trickle from thousands of stores all over the world, which ends up being a major profit, and that is just the
reality
benefit of being successful.
Okay, I'm just still saying that there's room in there somewhere to give my mom a $2 raise and keep it.
You don't know that. You'd have to audit the books, though.
We'd have to sit here on a computer and go right through all the books and go, and I would bet my fucking balls on it, man. That somewhere
I wouldn't bet your balls, because that's a...
fuck, man. I would bet somewhere in all that paperwork and somewhere in all those franchises and somewhere where that dude that's on top of the McDonald's money pile eating a fucking poutine is... there's room there to give back to the people, man. I mean, haven't you seen?
Well, again, that's a weird way of looking at it. Give back to the people. If we don't let people make money without trying to fuck with them and take
it still be greedy.
They will take their making money somewhere else and make it. Myself included.
Well, then we're two different people. You're like corporate.
No, we're not two different people.
Versus
I just understand how things work, and you're.
Advertisement loading.
Do you know who the real champions are, Garrett?
No, Adam, tell me.
They're the champions on Patreon.
We have a Patreon?
We have a Patreon.
Cool.
Link in the description. And if you'd like, you can, for $5 per month, be a champion. And you champion the cause by supporting the Question Everything podcast. Questioning Everything podcast with a monthly Roger rotation.
And then what does $13.50 get me, Adam?
$13.50 gets me happy starting. All right.
I also have $35 burning a hole in my pocket. Adam, what does that get me?
$35 gets you show more.
Show more. And cut.
You're not that.